never slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're with my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
All right, y'all, we're here. We're live. It's a rainy Thursday afternoon. And I tell you what, we're not going to waste a lot of time today because this is a show I've been looking forward to ever since it was booked. You know the routine. Like this video, share this video, go to Buster H.R. Johnson on YouTube, and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell. That way you don't got to worry about content. You'll know when it's out. Look, guys, like I said, I've been looking forward to this show. I want to promote my upcoming podcast right quick, and then we're going to get this thing underway. Guys, check it out.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with. Now they looking nervously, and I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
All right, y'all, you seen it right there. I got a ton of good podcasts, great podcasts coming up over the next couple of months. This is the last one for January. I want to thank every guest that came on in January. We kicked it off with a bang with Aaron Roberts, and we're going to end it with a bang with 901 Wrestling right here today. I have been waiting on this podcast. Man, I have kept my eye on 901 Wrestling for probably 2 solid years now, man, and I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of companies around here that claim Memphis Wrestling, but I feel like this is the company that everybody needs to watch out for. And I got the man right here, Mr. 901 himself, Mr. Tommy Jacks. Tommy.
What's going on, Buster? How's it going, man?
Dude, it is going great, man. I am so happy to get you here, man. It feels like it's been forever.
Man, it has. I appreciate you on this dark and stormy night having me.
Man, you ain't lying about that, dude. It's pouring where I'm at right now. I'm surprised y'all can't hear it. Y'all might be able to. It is pouring down, dude. Man,
Absolutely.
look, 901 Wrestling, man, big deal to me, man. Honestly, I think it's the dark horse of Memphis, Tennessee. I think y'all are the company that everybody else needs to be watching out for. That's the honest truth. Y'all have a stacked roster of talent, young talent, dude. But before we get on 901, I feel like to learn about 901, we need to learn a little bit about Tommy Jacks, man, and how you got into wrestling. What inspired you to even? How did you even discover wrestling, dude?
Well, I mean, we can go way back to when I was a little kid.
There you go. Let's take it all the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm Memphis born and raised. So, I grew up on Saturday morning, just like everybody else, who around that time,
right?
Who was lucky enough to grow up and watch Saturday morning wrestling. What's up, Roscoe?
Roscoe Monroe's with us.
Yep. And, so to tell you a story that has not been told that often, if really any, I grew up in a household with an alcoholic father, loved us to death, but brutal childhood until the weekends when I'd go to my grandparents' house where my grandfather was an alcoholic. But one day a week, didn't have to worry about any of that. Right there on Saturday mornings, because we would Saturday morning wrestling Channel 5. Then we'd hop over to WCW. Then we'd watch WWF. Consume it. That was happiness. Then later, my dad got into the Monday Night Wars with me and my brother. So basically, what I found was magic. That's what wrestling is. Later on, I mean, life happened, and way too late in life, I found a little show called RSWF.
Okay.
Out on South Perkins Strong Style, basically, is what a lot of people call it. They're not around anymore, but found this place, and I don't know. I was like, well, I never lost the love for wrestling. I never lost, the fact that it made me forget the outside world for a minute, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, it's later in life, but I know that there's some way I can contribute. I know there's some way I can do something to give back to something that gave to me. Because every Saturday morning where there was not chaos in the household, any Monday night where there was not chaos in the household, that was it giving something to me. That was magic.
Right.
The last form of true magic, I believe, that's left on this entire planet, which is professional wrestling. And I'm not talking about how it's done, because I don't really talk too much inside baseball. But what I'm talking about is that ability to touch people and take them away from the outside world. And that's what wrestling did for me, growing all the way up to my teenage years. And then, like I said, life happened. But when I found RSWF, something told me, I was like, I can contribute in some way. So, Soul Taker, promoter of that promotion at the time, I came up to him. I said, hey, is there any way I can train? He said, yeah. I said, cool. I want to train as a wrestler, but I want to be a referee or a manager. And he goes, well, why don't you want to be a wrestler? I'm old, pal.
So how old were you actually when you decided to try to step in the business?
I just turned 36.
Woo, yeah, you're right about that, man. Man. So you told him, why don't you want to be a wrestler? I'm old. And for the wrestling business, man,
That's when most people are clicking and finally figuring it out. You know, give or take a few years here or there, once they've already been in the ring a while, not when you get in it. You know, everybody brings up the exception to the rule, which is DDP, but that is the exception, not the rule. You
And
know,
DDP had been flirting with wrestling for
a while.
15 or probably 15 years at least before he ever actually broke in the ring as a wrestler.
And that's why it's the exception, not the rule, you know. So I was trying to be down to earth with my expectation levels, what I could do, and how I could possibly in any way contribute. So fast forward couple of years. I'd worked RSWF, MEW at the time, Wildfire at the time. And for one reason or another, they all said that, yeah, well, you know, you're never going to work Memphis Wrestling again. So don't worry about it, kid. You don't understand the business. Okay.
What was the deal with that? I mean, what in your opinion, what was the reasoning for that?
I think it's twofold. I think one, I was suffering a lot from what a lot of young people do in the business, even though I wasn't young. I was super hungry. I mean, excited little light bulb baby.
Right.
Ready to go. But I'd also had been thinking about this for 30 years. So, you know, Soul Taker had me write a few of his shows. They packed the building out beyond capacity. And I really liked that. I really liked that aspect. I liked being able to see.
To create. If you're a creative guy, or anybody, girl, anybody, if you're creative, man, I tell people, the wrestling business is the perfect place for somebody who is uber creative, man, because I'm the same way. It took me years and years. I had to go through being a wrestler and a talent first, but now I love the back end of the wrestling business way more than I love being out in the ring or ever did. I love the creativity.
Well, it also hurts a lot less, Buster.
Right. A lot less bumps.
Yeah, so but basically, you know, long story short, too late, I'd worked all the shows here, and to be honest, the ones that were here at the time, they disappointed me because I had this love that I did not feel like was being cared for.
Right.
Shows not starting on time, ever. 901 starts on time every time.
Look, here's the thing. Here's the one thing I was taught when I broke in the business. You don't penalize the fans who showed up on time waiting on the ones who ain't there. You start that show, and if these fans come, they miss what they miss. That's on them. That ain't on the fans that actually showed up and bought them tickets and was sitting and waiting in those seats for this thing to start.
Correct. Which is the old Teeny Jarrett rule. That's an old Teeny Jarrett rule. It's good enough for her, good enough for me.
Right.
I mean, because in the business that we're in, not to get off track, but the business that we're in an independent level, it's about filling seats and people buying tickets. So you have to serve that audience, you know. So if they bought a ticket, you serve that audience, you know. But getting back to it, I was really disappointed in what I saw, like people not starting on time or people not having things thought about, right? Because I'm a real believer in having a plan 6 months, a year, 2 years in advance.
Right.
All right, who I got? All right, y'all go up against each other. It was driving me crazy. So after I'd worked my last, you know, this is 10 years ago, 9 years ago. Yeah, something like that. My last Memphis show. What's up, Johnny?
Yeah, we got the King Superstar with us, y'all. Johnny's checking us out.
Johnny was in the
Johnny.
Here's a small fact, and Johnny will get a kick out of this. I'm going to say this just because Johnny chimed in. Johnny was in the ring the night I took my first bump.
Oh wow!
Yep.
There you go.
So,
learning some history.
So we go. You know, I'm disappointed, and I'm never going to work Memphis again. And after I had worked my last Memphis show, I rode home in the car, and as you can tell, I'm not a quiet person. I talk a lot.
Right.
So I was silent the whole car ride home. I was pretty sure I was done because, like I said, I really love this because it helped me not only entertainment wise, but it helped me in a way that I know that it's helped other people. And to see it squandered, to see it wasted, to see it not cared for broke my heart. So I was done. I wasn't going to do anything. So about a week goes by and I get called by Chris Ward and Shane Schaffner, who are hell of a guys and hell of a wrestlers, very underrated, probably two of the more underrated people who've been in this territory in the past decade. But they call me and they say there's a show in Holly Springs. They want me to manage them. So this is after I traveled. After I left these shows, the guy who had helped me out, Nemesis, decided to take me under his wing and take me all throughout the territory and let me get some experience managing. So I did that, but I was still really home for Memphis was where my heart was. But, Chris and Shane called me and they was like, look, we want to do this, but only if you're managing us. I was like, all right, cool. Who are we up against? Buff Bagwell and Hollywood. All right, cool. So we do that and we had a successful show down there. And eventually I get talked into booking the show. And with the thought that Memphis was always where I wanted to be.
Right.
But I wanted the show to be right before I moved anywhere, got anything. So we spent a year in Holly Springs getting everything as tuned as we could get it there. And lo and behold, we hit the rec room, and that was in like 2018, something like that. Rebranded to 901 Wrestling, and we've been rolling ever since. But the funny thing is, I had never got into this to be the booker or promoter.
Right.
I got into this to be a manager or referee, and I've gotten to do both in that time frame. But the reason it's wrestling is because what it's done for me, and the reason that I carry this torch for wrestling in Memphis is because I believe that in the DNA of this city, wrestling's in that DNA. And that's something that's inherently Memphis. I'm inherently Memphis. Hell, I am Mr. 901. So it has to be here, and it has to be something that's loved and cared for. And that's what we're doing at 901.
And here's the thing. I'm just like you about that. I feel like it is a bigger part of Memphis as the blues. I mean, it is. Memphis is synonymous with pro wrestling. It's always been that way, at least my whole life. It's always been that way. And I feel you on like you said, your dad, my dad was a binge alcoholic. He was a towboat captain, so he'd go out on the boat 30, 60, 90 days, come home, and for 2 straight weeks, just stay obliterated.
Yeah, my dad laid asphalt. So it's that type of, they just pour themselves into their work, I guess. But yeah.
And it wasn't like it was every day, but you knew when Dad got off the boat, there was going to be probably 5 to 14 days that, I mean, it's going to be, you ought to be at the motel room a few of those nights. You ought to sleep out in the car. You don't really know.
Yeah.
It wasn't an everyday thing, but you knew immediately them couple of weeks you were going to get that. And I'm kind of like you too. Early on, I found an escape. Man, I guess the minute I saw wrestling, I was just enamored with it. I don't know why, what it was. It was, and I don't think I ever believed, like, I never watched it and was one of those people that, oh, this is real. I think from the get-go, I understood what it was for some reason, even as a little kid.
Yeah.
And Memphis, synonymous with wrestling. And I'm going to tell you something. What made y'all decide 901? Because I think that is probably one of the best wrestling company names ever around here. It makes perfect sense. It tells you where you are, what we're about, man. How did y'all land on 901?
Well, I mean, it actually goes back to my dad, right? So when we were doing the rebrand, what's up, Hollywood?
Hollywood with us.
Had my first ever match versus Hollywood. I won too, by the way.
Look, Johnny's with us. He says Tommy Jack's on the mic as a commentator was fire. He has called so many of my matches. He is really good.
Yeah, that's how I got, that's kind of how I got in. I talked Soul Taker into letting me commentate at first. So
and we got Rebecca McClanahan Langston. She says he owns the crowd when he comes out. And that's praise for someone who grew up with Jerry Lawler and the Jarretts. And I think we're all on the same page right here, man. I think we all growed up on, and I feel you when you say wrestling let you down.
It did.
I do. I'm 100% with you on that same
like
thing.
That the state of it about 11 years ago, because that's when I got in it.
Stagnant.
It was the internals. I felt like nobody thought about it. I felt like nobody cared. And if they did, it was last minute and it was half-assed, but I knew it deserved better. Right. And I knew that there was a lot of guys too around the area at that time that deserved better. They just needed a chance.
Right.
It wasn't that they weren't talented. It was that their talents were not being accentuated. Because I believe that if you are maximizing what you're doing as a promoter / booker, you know who you have, you know their strengths and weaknesses.
There you go.
You don't show those weaknesses. You maximize those strengths.
And I think people forget that here's the thing. This is pro wrestling. You're the guy. You're writing it out. You're the booker. We can control. If we got a guy, we know if we put him past 10 minutes, the match is more than likely going to fall apart. But if we give him 5 to 10 minutes, he can do magic. Well, why? That's our job to tailor these matches to those attributes.
And at the time, I didn't
these guys.
Yeah, and at the time, I didn't see. Man, I just didn't see. It was like I said, there was just no care, right? I expected, because this was Memphis, right? I mean, the Mecca,
right?
I thought that people would be handling it. You know what I'm saying? Like really handling it with kid gloves. And I didn't feel, at least from my perspective, and all of them told me that I just didn't know the business and, get out of here, kid. Even though I was 37.
A lot of them, probably.
Yeah. But so with the help of a lot of guys believing in the fact that there could be better, there should be better, fans deserved better. We worked with every bit of hope, spit, and duct tape. And then there were times where all we had was the hope to cultivate what a Memphis wrestling of now would be. Not some facsimile of paint by numbers or not what we think. No, this is Memphis wrestling. This is 901 wrestling. This is now This is as if Channel 5 never stopped.
Let's stop right there, Tommy, because here's something I feel like, one of the things I feel like that seems like every company that's ever tried to run Memphis as Memphis Wrestling, they all are trying to recreate something from the past instead of realizing you're never going to recreate. You're never going to do nothing that makes me and you feel like that did, because that time's passed for us. But you can create your own Memphis Wrestling. Memphis Wrestling is new. It's modern. It's not the same thing it was, and I feel like there's so many companies that live off of that old statue. You see that old spinning statue.
And that was part going back to the 901 name, right?
Right. There we go.
So the reason it was 901, I was sitting down on my back patio, on the back patio with my father, and I said, "Well, I'm about to rebrand." Now, this was 2 years before we had ever come to Memphis. I said, I want something that when we hit Memphis, it says Memphis Wrestling, but people have used Memphis Wrestling as a name before. There's been championship wrestling. There's been all types of iterations of that. What I wanted was something that undoubtedly said all of that without saying it.
Right.
And my father just looks at me and he goes, "Well, hell, son, you know, there was a 901 muffler I just passed by. There was a 901 something else." He goes, "901 Wrestling says exactly what you're trying to say." So at that minute,
right off the tongue too. I love it, dude.
So that minute, I broke out my phone, secured the website, the Facebook page, everything back in 2017.
Yeah, I love it. I think it was a smart move. Like you said, it says Memphis without saying Memphis.
And the thing about it is, the goal of it was that wrestling in Memphis, right? Wasn't, this is going to wind up, being a thing everywhere. Now, hey, we're on, we've got great YouTube numbers and people all over the world watch it, and that's awesome. And we're there for them too. But it's wrestling here in Memphis first.
Right.
That's what it's about.
And here's the thing. I feel that same way. I feel like if you're going to draw a more mainstream audience outside of Memphis, you have to be able to draw your Memphis homegrown fans. If you cannot put those people in the seats, why is anybody else out here that don't have nothing to do with Memphis or really know anything about it going to really care whatsoever? You first have to put those Memphis fans back in those seats. And once you do that, then grow from there. Then try to take it to the next level. And I feel like, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry not to cut you off, but that's exactly it. My thing is, like, our brand is 901 Wrestling here, right here in Memphis. That is our brand. And I believe that in and of itself is strong enough for people elsewhere. Right. Because it is unique. It does feel inherently Memphis. So I'm not trying to serve all masters, just the masters here in Memphis. And I believe that that's enough to where, our views are great and it's spreading. So let that spread, because more people need to know about what's going on here in the city. But the main goal was always, let's cultivate this. Let's give this love. Let's make sure that this doesn't go anywhere, because it needs to stay as part of something for this city. Because there's other people out there, Buster, just like me. There's other kids out there just like me. There's people out there that just want to escape their job for a minute, for a couple of hours, and that's what we do.
Man, I'll tell you this about 901. I said it from the get-go. I feel like y'all have one of the, here, I jotted down, these are the ones I jotted down off the top of my head, and I know I'm going to miss a few, and you're the guy who's going to name anybody I miss. But when we talk about rosters, different wrestling companies, and you talk about rosters, let's just say you got Bobby Ford, Dorian Vane, Andy Mack, Ken Dang, MJ Davis, Don Montana, Walker Hayes, Chris Evans, Kevin Blessed, Hunter Havoc, Prince Adonis, Norman McLacoff. You got Roscoe Monroe, and I know I'm missing some. That just off the top of my head. Man, when I look at that on paper.
Did you mention Tyler LeMasters?
I did not. He was one I just missed. And that's what I'm saying right there. When you put these guys down on paper, y'all have one of the youngest, most talented rosters of any of the companies around our area, period. And can't nobody put these names down, and I don't think nobody could disagree unless they just disagreed on purpose. I mean, you got a company full of young, talented guys overall. And I've never been to a 901 show, but I feel like all of your guys, I feel like there's a camaraderie with all of you 901 guys. And that's what I call you guys. Like when I'm booking podcasts, it's like, I want to try to get a 901 guy on here. And so I start trying to figure out who, and I look at you guys like that, and y'all stay out of the drama. Y'all stay completely
it's
out
company
of the drama.
policy, Buster. From day one, company policy was we don't clap back. Nobody gets a free rub.
Right.
It's there's no use in that. We have goals in mind. We have blinders on. We have goals. Our goals is what I spoke about earlier. We don't worry about the drama. I grew up in wrestling. My when I got in it, when I grew up in wrestling,
right,
with all types of drama. So basically, I took all of the traveling and everything I seen at the different shows and the different Memphis area shows at that time, and I said, okay, cool, let's do the opposite.
And here's something about pro wrestling and pro wrestlers. Man, they need a good leader. I mean, it really boils down to that. They need a good leader in the locker room. They need a guy that cares about them, cares about his company or their company, cares about his talent, wants everybody to be successful, not just himself. And when you get a guy like that, there's a guy out here, Ricky Kennedy, APW. I actually went to an APW show and got to commentate about 4 or 5 months ago. And when I walked in his dressing room, that's how his whole talent was. Man, they do anything Ricky wanted them to do, not say a word about it, not bitch about it, not even question it. But that's because he treats his talent good. He takes this business seriously, and he's organized and his show's professional. And I feel like 901, man. Here's my question: have y'all ever thought about taking it to straight TV, to real TV?
Well, I mean, honestly, no, because I don't see the need. I don't see the need in paying for real TV when honestly, everywhere I've been, I've filled up to capacity.
Right.
I mean, why?
Here's the thing. Y'all have some awesome production. From the first day I seen 901, that's the first thing that jumped out at me is the organization and the production. That's before I really knew a lot about any of the talent. That's the first show I ever watched. I thought, man, this shit here is ready for TV already. It's primed. It's already a TV show. And I think y'all do great. I love your commentators.
We have the group, Buster, is the best group around. I put them up against anybody. They really believe in what 901 stands for. They also know, without a shadow of a doubt, at any given time, they're going to be put in the best possible spot that they can be put in. They're going to be showcased ad nauseum within whatever angle that they're in, whether it be on radio, TV, YouTube, social. They know this, and they know what the end goal is. And everybody locked together from 9 years ago, and not everybody's been there since that time. But
right,
the way that once people believe in you, they will do anything as long as you are what you say you are.
Exactly.
Not once have I ever BS'd anyone and the record showed. So people know, they're like, okay, well, all right. So everybody says Tommy will take care of me. Let's go. And it takes them a little, when somebody first comes in, when they've been other places, 901's not
Right.
like other places. So it takes
Right.
them a little second to get with the culture. But once they do, it's like, wow, it could be like this.
And that's a big thing too. Standing by your word as a promoter, with your talent, as a booker. I mean, that goes a long way. And like you said, new guys coming in, sure, it takes them a little time to learn they can trust you, trust your decisions, that you got the looking.
Well,
for the
I
best
mean,
outcome for
everywhere,
everybody.
man, everywhere somebody's been hosed over somewhere here or there. You know that. I mean, I'm sure you have too in the business.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable. So you build up this barrier, and once that barrier comes down, man, I mean, they see that it's the place to be, and that it's not all just hyperbole. It's what we're speaking is the truth.
And pre-planning, you said it earlier. You like to know what's going to go on 6 months, 8 months, a year from now. Further, if you could. In this day and time, it's a little harder than it was back in the 70s and 80s to do that, because everything's so fast. Just everything. People's moving so fast, going different directions. But still, that's how good wrestling is built right there. That pre-planning. You need to know. You need to have a plan and know that if everybody shows up and where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be, 3 weeks from now, this is where we'll be. Then 5 weeks from now, here's where we'll be. And you ought to be able to tell your talent when you break them in and set them down and say, hey, we're going to start doing this thing. You should kind of be able to tell them, take them step by step through of, look, in a few weeks we want to be here. In 6 weeks we want to be here. 8 weeks we want to end it off right here. We're going to do the blow off, and we're going to pivot to another direction with you and different somebody else. And that's something I like about your show too. Y'all follow through on your angles and your stories. Ain't nothing I hate worse than watching a wrestling show and getting something that I'm interested in, and then it's just the next week they just act like it didn't happen, or they just never say nothing about it again. And then 6 months from then, they'll come back and expect you to remember or even care. By then, nobody cares, And that's the one thing I like about 901 too, is y'all tell your stories to completion.
Well, I like, even though I don't wear one, I like to end things in a nice little bow if I can. Right. And if you don't, and here's the thing, does everything go like I've got it plotted out? Of course not.
Right.
But because I know where I want to go, I can always adjust. I can always figure out a way right back to where I'm going. And, at the end of the day, it's all about, what do I want the fans to feel at that moment, depending on what's happening.
And that's wrestling in a nutshell right there. It's about making those fans feel a certain emotion from each angle. One angle, we might want these fans to be happy. We might want them laughing in this situation. Over here, we might want them cussing, and over here, we might want them crying. And that's what wrestling really is. It's eliciting that emotion out of your audience. That's what that's the magic you were saying. Right there is the magic. That connection. That connection with your audience and your fans.
I agree totally. And that's, and everything that's thought about in 901, and everything's thought about, like because I believe all small things add up to the big thing. Right. So I probably have no hair for a reason, because the brain never stops. Right.
Right.
But everything's thought about so that the fans can be rewarded for watching, whether it's the first time that you're there, whether it's 3 or 4 shows in, or if you're a diehard fan that's been watching since we come in Memphis, you're rewarded for watching every step of the way.
Right. So look, y'all recently made a move. Y'all were at Black Lodge for how long were y'all actually at Black Lodge?
3 years on the dot.
3 years. So let me ask you this. Did you have any pre-warning that it was fixing to be gone? Or did it just one day you got that call and it's like it's done?
I got the call on our 3-year anniversary of being there. And we had a show coming up, a couple of weeks later. But yeah, there was no warning or anything. It was just, I got a text and said, "Hey bud, Black Lodge is closing." And I went, great.
So talk to me about that, because I mean, you're a pre-planner. You like to have everything laid out, and you like for things to happen like you want them to happen, and they're laid out. So when you get that wrench thrown in your spokes, what was your first reaction?
Holy hell. Because I mean,
3 years of work, 3 years of building something, you know.
Yeah. And pretty close to the fact that we don't have much more room in there.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's getting tight. So the thoughts were, even before that we knew that we were going to get bigger. I mean, the same thing happened at Rec Room. I mean, I reconfigured that place 12 different times to make sure, and then finally I got that last configuration. And I knew it was going to be, too small. And then the pandemic hit.
Well, that's always a blessing, needing more room, because you got the fans that
it's a good problem to have. Yeah.
But when you ain't really expecting it and you pick up that phone and they say, the place you've been had carte blanche at for 3 years, it's done. This is your last date. It's over. I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I actually think it turned out to be a blessing for you guys in 901, because I feel like there's something going on there with 901 and Minglewood Hall. Look, Black Lodge is cool, but Minglewood Hall has a little different aura and a feel about it. You know what I mean? And I think 901 and Minglewood Hall is a great, great marriage together, man. Y'all been,
I think so too.
Had phenomenal crowds since y'all been there.
Yeah, and the people at Minglewood Hall have been phenomenal. From the first meeting, they just got what we were trying to do. And we have a track record too. That didn't hurt. Like, right. I mean, literally, we've been at this in the city now for, like I said, since 2018, I believe, right around there. And the only thing that ever stopped us was a worldwide pandemic, and that didn't stop us, So we had a good track record, and they got it, And then the space is beautiful, right? I mean, state-of-the-art lighting, state-of-the-art sound. VIP luxury boxes, even and the concessions are to die for, and it just wasn't something that we thought was going to be in the cards, because we had met with a ton of people doing a scramble. As you could imagine, you get a phone call and it's like, cool, well, I know I've got this show at the end of the week, and then that's my last show until I find something else quick, right?
Right.
So we met with over a dozen different places, and to be honest, a lot of them would have been just great to be at, but we would have been at capacity night one, and no room to grow.
And that's the beautiful thing about Minglewood Hall. Now you got the space. You can take that. You can take 901 to a whole new level. Yeah, you got the space to do it in. I mean, I do. I really love the idea of 901 at Minglewood Hall. It all says Memphis.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, because we've always kind of hovered right around the centralized midtown sort of area, which if it's midtown, then that's kind of, right smack in the center of everything. And that's where we wanted to stay. And we couldn't have found a better place. I mean, the amenities of the way that now all the wrestlers now have beautiful locker rooms, dressing
Right.
areas. The stage is, beautiful. Like, it's just like you said. I think it was just a blessing that we kind of fell in, but we came out smelling like roses. And they have been great at Minglewood Hall, and we couldn't have asked for better partners on that.
And like you said, you had a track record. It means a lot when the people at Minglewood Hall can pick up the phone and call the people that own Black Lodge and say, hey, how were these people to have in your facility? And they tell them, we had never had a problem with it. They took care of our amenities, our facilities, always did what they say they were going to do. That goes a long way. They hang up that phone, and then now they've got more of a reason to take a chance on you guys.
Yeah, and we make it a habit to, because of things that were done to these places in the past, or we make it a habit to never overpromise and underdeliver.
Right.
We are doing what we are telling you we're going to do. If I tell you, depending on your building, I can bring a minimum of 150, 200 people to you, that's what we're going to do.
Right. And so let's talk about that, because the one thing, y'all are ingrained in the city of Memphis, man. I mean, y'all are in the social media, like you said earlier. These TV stations, I see your guys always plugging shows and stuff on these different outlets. Talk to us about that aspect of it, because that goes a long way. Here's the thing, if you want your community to get behind your product, you got to get behind your community too.
Correct. And early on, and we've had varying degrees of success, but early on, we reached out to as many local things as possible. That, hey, what can we be a part of? What can we help you with? We've got people with time. Is there, and slowly but surely we've been able to do stuff like that. And like this year, we did a huge trunk or treat, and we had Kendang involved, the Merc involved, a lot of the guys involved with that, which was really cool. But with everything in the city, I wish people sat down every Saturday morning and they clicked on the TV. I wish that was the case. That's not the case anymore. We live in a time now to where, I mean, with the exception of if you could say Raw, because you can always go back and watch it now.
Right.
There's nothing that brings us together at a time slot where we're all going to see it. Right.
And that ain't just wrestling. I think that's across the board everywhere. When I was young, I mean, look, when I was a kid, my mama was a little kid, Dynasty in Dallas, and every Friday night for Dallas, you're gonna be sitting right in front of that TV, man, watching Dallas, watching Dynasty.
But since it's not like that anymore, you've got to spread out. You've got to let it be known in other ways. And we've got a commentary team that I'd put up against anybody, and Kevin Cerrito and Anthony Sane. And, these are both guys that are well connected to both media and sports media throughout the city. Right. That was part of, when you have to think about what you're doing when you're putting these things together, and thought processes go into what worked for when the time was that you had to sell tickets. Okay. Well, radio, local news, things like that worked. Well, we're not too far removed. Yes, things have changed and evolved, and we are the evolution of all of that. But the things that still work to draw tickets, some of those things still work. People stopped doing them.
I feel the same way about in-ring wrestling. The fundamental things that worked 100 years ago, if guys do them right and they're done right, they will still work today, because every single thing about pro wrestling is really based out of human nature, human instinct. And the same thing that worked in 1950 will work now if it's done the right way.
Correct.
I just believe that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and I don't feel, at least from my point of view, I don't feel that you're wrong there at all. because 901 is just that evolution of everything that we grew up on, everything that was inherently Memphis on back in the day wrestling, and then taken to now. And I don't mean doing 100 things at 1,000 miles per hour that nothing means anything. I mean, everything means everything.
Right.
You know,
City's back says, I want to highlight 901 wrestling at the Cooper Young Festival this year.
All right, pal, get with me, buddy.
So let's talk about that for a second. I know here recently, Johnny, he's been going around to shows. He was at a 901 show. Enjoyed it, man. Told me it was one of the best shows that he has been to in forever. And one of your main guys, MJ Davis, just recently won the Bluff City Heavyweight Championship. So talk to me about, did you get to talk to Johnny at the show or anything? Did y'all interact any?
Yeah, I got to talk to Johnny after the show for a little bit. Like I said, Johnny and I go way back. And congratulations to the Merc. That's a thing, man. I know the perception is 901 guys. I know that. And I take a little pride in that, not as they're Tommy's guys, 901 guys. That's that's the thing, right?
That is not an insult whatsoever to anybody.
No.
Because I'm just like you. Those guys are proud to be 901 guys. That's the difference.
But here's the thing. These guys are independent wrestlers. And the key in that, yes, wrestling, obviously, or we wouldn't be here talking.
Right.
Independent. That means that congratulations to the Merc for winning that title. Why should I be upset about that? You know what I'm saying? I've never understood that, but like, that's the cool thing about the culture we've created at 901. Yeah, there's 901 guys, but you see these guys everywhere, just like you talked about that stacked roster, right? And the reason it's stacked is because these guys, the 901 guys, have spread out and taken what they've done at 901 and spread that thing. And that means a ton to me. Like, that goes beyond Tommy Jacks.
Right.
That goes beyond 901 wrestling. That's paying something forward to the business that, like I said, gave so much to me.
And I like the fact that you always go back to, it's about selling those tickets, about making the connections with fans, that emotional investment that they make into your guys, your product, to buy tickets. Because here's the thing, we're seeing it now even in big time wrestling, WWF, WWE, probably eventually going to cut out damn near all house shows, relying mainly on TV rights contracts and Saudi Arabia stuff, when in actuality, pro wrestling has always been designed and built around live attendance, selling those tickets. So let me ask you, what is your thoughts about these companies cutting down on house shows? Because here's my theory. You got all this TV money coming in right now, and that's fine. But somewhere down the line, that's going to fall off or even go away completely. And if you've already done away with your house show market, your live attendance market, if say that TV rights last 10 years or 15 years, you got to where you're not doing nothing but TV stuff, TV tapings and stuff, no live attendance, all of a sudden that TV money's gone. You got to then rebuild your live attendance from scratch all over again. And I just, here's the thing, it's like any company around, even the companies around here. My goal, if I was a promoter and was running a wrestling company, my goal would to be not just run one town, I would eventually want to run other towns. Because here's the thing, that's how wrestlers make money. It's hard for wrestlers to make money once a month. They need to be working. If they're going to make a real living at wrestling, they need to work 4 or 5 nights a week, really. That's why
I never understood why on the level that we're at in the independent level, and I'm not talking about super indies and things like that. These guys need to go everywhere that they can go. If you're only running once a month and they're showing up, winning, I mean, besides that, and everybody's doing what they need to do, then winning, right? But like and the thing about cutting down on house shows, that definitely applies, I think, for anybody unless you're WWE, right? Because WWE is not in the same business anymore as what we are. They stopped being in that a long time ago. It doesn't matter what they do anymore, especially with the Netflix deal and things like that. And and I'll say something here that nobody will like to say, but it's a premonition. In 15 years, you'll have to get your wrestling franchise license from WWE. It's being set in motion right now.
Yeah.
But they don't do what we do. So trying to model, when companies on our level try to model themselves after what they do, it's like setting yourself up for failure. I don't understand it, because what we should be doing at this level is making sure that these fans connect with who we have, so that they want to buy a ticket and tell everybody that they know about it and get them to come and buy a ticket. At the basic level, that's what we should be doing. And then there's all the other stuff, the social and the videos and all that. But really, at our level, we should only be worried about what's funding the whole thing, really, and what it comes down to. Because if you're not making the fans happy and you don't connect to them, none of it matters. None of it matters. You could have, wrestler A versus wrestler B, and you could put that match on in any town, any city, any country in the entire world, and you will get some people to come watch it. You will, because people will watch something sometimes no matter what.
Right.
But if nobody cares about it, none of it's going to matter, and you're not going to draw like you think you're going to draw. So from day one with 901, it was always about getting people to care about the wrestlers. It wasn't about, let me get, so-and-so who has a little buzz to come in real quick. No, these people are here. You could run into Bobby Ford right, at a gas station. You could run in a 2-time 901 wrestling champion filling his car up. That's the way it was always here in this city, right? That's the way it always was. So you make sure that people care about the people that are here in this city. And because they care, because they're connected, you do enough to get them to want to come and support your show, because that's what it is at the end of the day. We don't do anything that's not asking, hey, we're giving you all of this. We're just wanting your support at the end of the day. And that's what buying a ticket is. They're supporting that show. And on this level, that's the way you need to think. You need to think about, how are we filling these seats up? How does this show get more people at the next show?
Right.
Because if you're trying to get more people at the current show that you're currently on, you're currently screwed. You should always,
it should always be about growing. You always want to grow your audience. I mean, you should never look out there and say, well, this is enough. I mean, here's the bare facts of it. One day, if it gets to the point where Minglewood Hall's not big enough for 901, hard decision, but you got to go somewhere bigger. You got to find that next venue to take it to the next level, which what it should be, man. That's what wrestling's about to me. It's about giving people memories, for one thing. And you got to, another thing I like with you guys, like Anthony Sane and stuff, y'all are ingrained into the sports of Memphis too.
Yes.
Not like you're not just over here by yourself. They talk about 901 on the same places they talk about the basketball, the football, all the traditional sports. And I think that's a great thing. And I think y'all have really done a great job at ingraining 901 as a Memphis thing. People should be proud that 901 Memphis is around. You know what I mean?
And that's the goal. And we've got a ton of work to do, because, never once have we thought we had done anything yet. I mean, that's a company mantra. We hadn't done anything yet. It doesn't matter if we get, you know, the next venue, the next venue, the next venue. We really, our goal has no good end in sight, because all we want to do is make sure that we're taking care of what was here, what needs to stay here, and do everything we can to make sure that that grows and that's cultivated. So as that gets bigger and bigger, you know, we just take more care of it.
Right. So look, you mentioned this roster. I mentioned this roster.
Yeah. I'm
gonna run these names down to you as I have them written. You tell me your thoughts about these guys and this talent, because man, it's one thing to think about the guys, and it's another thing when you actually put their names down on paper and you realize that, man, 901 really, I'm not so sure it does not have the very best young roster, young talented roster. It's one thing to have young roster, but if they ain't no good, it don't matter. Young talented guy. Bobby Ford, let's just start right there.
Bobby Ford, what people don't know, or what they may not know, is Bobby Ford started with 901 as part of the ring crew. And that's the way, you know, 901 has gotten a lot of people in this business simply like that.
Right.
Because that's the way you used to get in sometimes. You know, you got with the ring crew. You know, not everybody's got $4,000 to $6,000 or $10,000 or whatever. Somebody might have some heart for this business and something that they can give to it. We'll figure that out, and we'll put them in the best place possible, you know, for what they can do. But Bobby Ford started with the ring crew and excelled. And I don't know that we have seen anything, and I'm not going to compare him to anybody, because I hate when you shoehorn somebody with another name. Right. But I don't know that we've seen anything like Bobby Ford in a long time.
He's young. He looks good. He can work in the ring.
And right now, people are hating his guts right now, and it's great.
So the next one would be Dorian Vane.
Dorian Vane, I've got a lot of high hopes for Dorian. He's new with 901, just had his first singles match. Our previous show at Minglewood. Dorian Vane's got a bright future at 901. He's trusting the process, and I think people are impressed with Dorian everywhere he goes now. I just wait.
Dorian, the one thing that jumps out immediately about Dorian to me was just his look. He's got
correct.
His look's unique. He reminds me, and I told him this, of an old school boxer. Just his physique, the way he looks, the way he carries himself. He's got a unique look, man, and he's a dedicated guy too, man.
Yeah, and he's hellified on the microphone.
Yes, yeah, he got attitude. Yeah. Hey, the star of the show, Andy Mack. This is a guy right here. I'll be honest with you. He's a guy that I think he could very well be in running for getting looked at for a WWE ID deal.
I'm surprised he has not already.
Andy Mack is a talented dude.
I think he's been overlooked in a few aspects, time and time again. I think if folks don't have their eye on him, they're making a huge mistake and they're dropping the ball.
I do too, man. I do too. The first time I ever seen him live, I was highly impressed. He's polished. Mm-hmm. I mean, here's the thing: you can have all the talent in the world and still be green and still be awkward. Andy Mack is polished, man. He's good at everything he does, man. He's good at being the star of the show. And here's something else about y'all's roster: it's diverse. Ken Dane, Talk to
The
me about Ken Dang.
All-American, baby, Ken Dang.
I love this dude's. I love his persona and everything, man. I don't know what it is about him. It's just different, man.
Ken Dang is a guy that started with me back in Holly Springs before we got to Memphis. He was another guy that everywhere he went, they put him in some sort of stereotypical, he's the son of Tojo, something right. Another, and that wasn't him. He knew he could give something else, right? And Ken Dang has been one that's been right there, one of the OGs of 901, and really a lot of these guys, like you said, I put this roster up against anybody's roster, and I still feel like most of these guys are underappreciated and overlooked, and Ken Dang's one of them.
Right. Okay, MJ Davis. This guy's a guy here that's really, he's everywhere right now, and he's
putting the work in.
He's focused. He's getting in shape. He's out here wrestling as much as he can. He's another guy that could very well be getting looked at as an ID guy somewhere here in the near future.
MJ Davis is a trooper. He's a team player. Even, and the thing about that I like about MJ is that there's, especially early on, he had been in a few situations where, his trust levels were not super high when he first came in. And, it took a second. But even then, he'd stop, and without going, oh, I'm not doing this or that, he'd ask questions. He'd figure out the whys. Because a lot of people miss that in this business is the whys. The whys make up everything.
Right.
Most of the time, more than not. But he would, and then once he had his answer, he's golden. But he was going to do it either way. But he was going to stop and ask questions and figure it out. And then he realized, oh, so I can trust this process. I can go with it. And right now he's tag team champions with Don Montana.
And he was my next guy on the list, the Bluff City Boss. This is a guy right here that I feel like is highly, highly underrated.
Yeah.
I mean, here's
I agree.
He's kind of like Dorian Vane in the sense that he's got a unique look about him too. He reminds me of a college or pro football player, athlete. That left that sport and came into wrestling when I see Don Montana, that's the first thing I think was this dude was a NFL player who got his knees hurt, had to quit NFL and look for another outlet, and wrestling was it because some of the best. Go ahead, Tommy. No, I was just gonna say some of the best wrestlers, some of the worst were football players, but some of the very best were also ex-football players that had to turn to wrestling because they were hurt or whatever, man. And he's a guy that I've seen money on him since the first day I seen him a few years ago.
I have, 901's, all these guys that you've listed and probably are going to list, lucky to have Don Montana. Don Montana connects with the fans on a different way than a lot do. Man, a few words, even though you will hear him on the mic, it doesn't take that. He connects with them anyway. And that's unique in and of itself. And then he looks like a stack of $1 million.
Right.
His spear is deadly. Another guy that sky's the limit for, I feel, and definitely in 901 wrestling. I mean, I could easily see Don Montana as a 901 wrestling champion in the future.
Right. Yeah, me too, man. Look, this guy, Walker Hayes, Walker 13, whatever he is right now. Him and Ken Dang, I kind of put them together. Both of them can work their ass off in the ring, but Ken Dang is a guy that you can do so much entertainment with. Walker Hayes is a guy that You don't just rely on matches. You can take Walker Hayes in so many different directions with his character that are more entertainment than athletic based. And I think I actually had Walker on here probably about 6 months ago, and man, a great dude, man.
Yeah, I
really
agree.
Just a great dude.
Walker 13, as he likes to be called now, at 901 at least. You know, been with him. He's been around me since he started in the business. You know, and I kind of seen some things that was happening to him, and I didn't like it. I didn't feel like that was, you know, the way that, you know, this guy should. I mean, he was a kid at the time, should be treated.
Right.
So I took him under my wing, and you know, I'm super glad I did. Not just for 901, but like for Walker, and then to now like be, you know, friends with a guy all these years. You know, it was all beneficial. But this guy is I've seen nothing but growth out of him. I've seen nothing but want to, which is a big thing. Right. There's a lot of folks that don't have that want to, and I can't tell you a time I have not seen it in Walker.
Yeah, man, he is what I call a character-driven wrestler. Meaning, you know, it's all about his personas and his characters and the things he's doing. He's a guy, honestly, that I think if anybody's keeping an eye on him from WWF, he's the perfect guy that if somebody's watching and gets a little glimpse of him, he'd be a guy you could take up there and put in the wide six or something like that immediately, and he would fit. And he's a big guy too.
Well, and the thing about it too is what a lot of people don't know is that in so many more ways than what they realize, he is multifaceted in this business. And I'll leave it at that. But he is very talented, and I do see a bright future for him, for sure.
Man, my next guy, I've had him on, the Mark Chris Evans at the time. He was the 18-19 champion.
Still is.
And he explained to me what that meant, man, and I thought that's another thing. That's another genius move, I think, by 901 Wrestling, having titles like that because I had no idea. I wondered that until I got him on. I was waiting for him to come on so I could ask him, what the hell does that mean? Why is it the 18-19 title? And when he explained it to me, what is it? That's the founding of Memphis?
The founding year of Memphis, yes.
Man, that is, I mean, honestly, it don't get no cooler than that. I think that's a backstory that the fans, everybody needs to know. You know what I mean?
It just... Man, how many belts are out there now? A gazillion, trillion? Right? Okay. Well, like I told you earlier, everything at 901 means something. Okay. So there's 3 titles at 901.
Right.
There's the 901 Wrestling Championship, which can be defended anywhere. There's the 18-19 Championship based on the founding year of this city that can only be defended in this city. And then there's the 901 Wrestling Tag Championships. But when we were looking for that title that would just be defended here, I mean, there's all, you know, folks that had thrown out other names like, well, we're on YouTube. What about a YouTube title? Well, that's been done.
Everybody does that. A media championship, everybody does that.
What about a Twitch champion? Well, it's been done. And what if it's a tri-state? Well, we're not in tri-states, and I only want it here. Like, you know, there were all these, and there were good names, but it was like, at the end of the day, what is it about? It's about the city. It's about Memphis. All right. Well, it doesn't get any more about it than if it's named after the year that it was founded. And as a little marketing thing, you're going to ask what it's about if you don't know.
And dude, like I said, I was dying to know what it meant. And when he told me it was sold to me the minute he told me what the backstory to it. I thought, well, yeah, that right there, that's cool. That gives people hear that backstory. That title immediately means something to them.
Correct.
It sets itself apart. It's unique and it's important to them. Then, like, well, this is
Yep.
kind of cool right here.
And we've had folks come in from out of town, depending on who's had that title, and threaten to, take it elsewhere. And the fans really connect to that. And when you make your titles mean something, the fans care about who has them and what happens to them.
Right. And Chris, I'll be honest with you, he's another guy that, man, he's got the size, he's got the talent, he's got charisma, he can talk.
Yep.
He's a dangerous talent out there in the
Can
wrestling world.
sing apparently too. I mean,
look, he didn't want to talk about it on the podcast. Said he liked to keep that separate. But I'm glad you brought it up because yes, I mean this dude's a multi-talented dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. And
well. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Up and down that sheet, you're running into a lot of that. These guys, and I tell them this before every show. I truly believe they are the best that this area has to offer, and that's why the roster seems so stacked, because it is.
The next guy,
and Evans is one. I mean, that guy right there. I mean, we've. It sounds like I'm a broken record about how much potential and how people needs to keep an eye on these guys, but it's literally every guy, and Evans is no exception.
Oh, he's definitely one of the guys that I think the WWE ought to have eyes on. He's kind of got the total package, and what really stood out about him to me in the ring. He don't half-ass it. You can tell he cares about the product. He's aggressive.
Correct.
And that's what I really like. His
mind is always working, and he's always thinking, and that's not a bad thing. A lot of guys, when I got in the business, a lot of older guys, if you were always thinking, that was a problem.
Right.
But he's always thinking, and he's always thinking about how to give more.
No, he's a talented dude, man. The next guy, Kevin Bless, man, he's another young guy that's, I mean, off the charts talented, dude.
Yes. Kevin Bless, people might not know this. We trained together. That's how far I go back with Kevin Bless. Kevin Bless, the current 901 wrestling champion, is out of all of the underrated people on the list, unless you've left a couple off, probably the most underrated. There's people on that list that will tell you that he's by far the best in the area. And it's hard to argue when you hear what they tell you,
Right.
But now, as the 901 wrestling champion, I feel like he's had a chance to really kind of come into his own, and people have gotten behind him from the fact that he truly represents the city. He's a dude that, grew up in Fraser and has had to get everything, hard. Like nothing's come easy.
Right.
And finally, he's right there, at the top. And people have connected to that in a way that I don't think a lot of people expected, but he's a dude that in the DNA of him is 901, and in the DNA of 901 is him.
Yeah, I think he's uber talented, man. He's one of my favorite guys. I think I'm kind of like you. I think he's, and I'm relatively new to him, really, over probably about the last year. I really started paying it. He really kind of caught my eye. But I'm like you. I think he's really, really starting to come into his own. And he has probably had multiple match of the night matches with a majority of probably everybody you've had on your podcast. And that's the thing, having a guy who can have great matches with pretty much anybody almost.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yep.
that's a hard quality to find.
Yep.
You
And
know,
he's got it, man. He's a good one.
And obviously, big Hunter Havoc, man. Talk to me about Hunter Havoc, dude.
Hunter Havoc came to me. He was trying to because the show is thought about in the ways that it's thought about. You know, people have to go through channels to get booked. You know,
Right.
like it's not, you don't make your own angle on social. You don't go at, you know, because we're not going to clap back anyway. So, you know, but Hunter was poking at me years ago. He was just poking. You know, if anybody knows Hunter, he loves to poke, right? Hunter loves to poke. But finally, we got together and got to talking, and I was like, "Look, man, if you want to be booked, I just gotta, you know, and we got to bring you in with some purpose and blah 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 blah, right?"
Right.
And dude, he's unparalleled in his ability to get the response he wants any given situation. He is just so talented.
And he's a monster.
Yes.
His look, everything about him. He's a big dude, man.
Yes.
We really don't.
But
have
can move.
guys.
That's the cool thing, is that he's a big dude, but he can move. And that's always set him apart from a lot of other big guys. And then, you know, you see him on things like Live at 9, and you hear him on the radio. And, you know, for the longest time, nobody heard a peep from Hunter. And as soon as he got a chance to start talking, man, I think wrestling in this area has been better for it.
Dude, I feel that totally. I wore a mask most of my career, and I wished I'd have took it off sooner because I could always talk. I was just scared to do it, or I never had the opportunity to really do it.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel him on that, man. Now you can't get me to shut up. You know, I wish it was 25 or 30 years ago. So look, the next guy would be Prince Adonis, man. Talk to me about Prince Adonis.
So you remember me telling you about some Memphis shows that I'd done, you know,
right.
Well, Adonis I had met on one of those shows, along with Ken Dang and a couple of others. But Adonis was one I had seen on a show, and I was like, man, they ain't using him right. Like, don't do that with him. They could do this. You could do blah, 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 right? And, you know, things like that kind of sit in my brain pan like a bee, you know, and it buzzes around. And you know, I didn't know if I was going to be on another show with him. I wasn't in a position to do anything about it, even if I was, you know, at the time. But then when the Holly Springs thing came up and we started that thing going, I ran into him at a Kroger in Midtown, the one right there, the big one right there in Midtown. And it was random that I was there because it wasn't even one that I go to. But this goes back to me talking about running into the stars here in town, right? I run into him, and by happenstance, I was like, "Hey, give me a shot. Why don't you come down, see what we're doing? It's rough. It ain't ready yet, but we're gonna get it there. But I'll promise you this: I'm always going to put you in the best spot possible." And he has been with me ever since. He is super trooper.
And look, I'm down to my last two, and I know I missed some guys because he was just what I jotted down off the top of my head. So the guys I missed, once we get through with this, you tell me about them. Next guy up, Norman Meglikov. Love this fucking dude, man. I love his gimmick.
I'll tell you this: if I had 15 to 20 Norman Megalikovs, I could take over the planet.
I love him, man. I love the gimmick, dude.
That's, well, just from an aspect of which the things that he gets, the things that he understands, how easy it is to work with him.
Right.
As a promoter and a booker, how easy he makes my job. If I had 20, I could take over the planet.
Yeah, I like him. And he's another guy kind of like Chris Evans. He's a multi-talented guy. I know he's a hell of an artist.
Yes. I mean, and that's the thing is like, Norman, I don't know if Norman got in right around the time I did, or if it was a little before or a little after or whatever, but he's, I've kind of crossed paths with Norman here or there. I managed him in the past at a couple of shows here or there. I think Norman's a dude that, like maybe folks kind of dropped the ball on, I really do. I think that, a lot of folks didn't know what they had with old Norman.
I agree with that. I remember seeing him on some other local shows around Memphis, and I'm kind of with you, man. I feel like maybe the same thing, that they just didn't really know, either didn't want to do something with him or didn't know what to do with him. Maybe.
Yeah, and you have to know who you've got. You also have to listen,
right.
But who else you got?
Next guy, last guy, and I'm going to go on a limb and say he's probably the oldest guy on your roster, Roscoe Monroe, man.
Man, let me tell you something. Roscoe, hold on. Let me see. I don't know if you can see those goosebumps. I'm not The Rock, so you know that this is real. But Roscoe is a throwback in every sense of the word. He's something that wrestling desperately misses. He is an out and outright character.
Right.
He knows exactly what and who he is at all times. His social media game is unparalleled almost. Roscoe, I don't know what the perception of Roscoe was before he came to 901. I don't know where, he was predominantly. He was brought to me as a recommendation. I feel like 901 has been better now that he's on the roster.
Yeah, I like some of the vignettes and stuff. Of course, he's that's something that he's been doing for a good while now.
Yeah,
like you said, his social media game. To be an older guy, man, he sure keeps himself out there on social media.
He's with it,
stuff.
And that's how we brought Roscoe in originally. Was with one of his vignettes. Because I don't like. Here's the thing. Like, I don't believe that you should just, if you can do it right. If it's somebody that should matter, then you should make a deal of them coming.
Right. If you want them to matter to the people, you need to make them matter to the people.
Correct. You have to give them a reason why, going back to the why, and when I heard Roscoe, well, that he can explain the why he's coming, and you're going to know why he's there when you first hear him. And then when you see him, so it's like, it was perfect. I've thoroughly enjoyed, even though, I'm kind of worried about his new tag team with Norman and the damage they can do, but been super happy about Roscoe being on board. And then, there's Shane Schaffner is another one that never gets talked about. Technical wrestler. I don't know that there's a lot of people that can touch him. Go back, watch some Shane Schaffner matches, y'all. They're on YouTube. He's got his own playlist on 901 Wrestling YouTube. Shane Schaffner is currently in March going to be going for the 901 Wrestling Championship for the second time. But he's a dude that. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead, and then we'll plug March 2nd once we get through with the talent. Yeah, ahead,
he's a dude that doesn't get a lot of fanfare or or pomp and circumstance or anything, because he's akin to more so like a Malenko, a Lance Storm,
Right.
something like that. You're not going to hear Shane say anything. That's not what he's about. Bell rings, he clocks in.
Right.
So if you enjoy that, whether Shane's doing things good or bad at the time, you know, in the story, you're going to enjoy what he does in the ring. And you know, I feel like he's getting a chance to showcase that now.
And here's the thing, that's what I meant about a lot of diversity on your roster, because you got a guy like that, like you said, not flashy. You're not going to hear him out there bragging and talking shit. He makes another guy like Chris Evans or like Dorian Vane. He makes them show up better, because, you know, he's this straight to business type guy, but he also they accentuate that too.
Correct.
Like Roscoe Monroe, he's a hell of a character.
Yep.
And that's the one thing I miss about wrestling. So much wrestling, all the guys are almost just like carbon copies of each other.
Yeah.
And I like ugly wrestlers. I like fat wrestlers. Anybody who could get in there and make me feel I'm up for them, no matter what they look like, man. Because wrestlers should come in all shapes and sizes.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I've always been a believer in that. And when it started, everybody kind of looked the same. You know, I heard something, I don't know where I heard it, but I heard it a long time ago. It was, if everybody's got a mask, nobody's got a mask.
Right.
If everybody's got a gimmick, nobody's got a gimmick. Well, if everybody looks the same, nobody's impressive.
And wrestles the same too. There was them. I mean, it's starting to change again now.
It is. Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, but there was probably I would say from 2005 to probably 2015, at least, maybe a little longer than that, man, wrestlers were just, it didn't matter who you see, they were interchangeable. You could throw anybody in a match. They looked the same, wrestled the same, worked the same, nothing unique about them. And wrestling is built on uniqueness, man. You got to have something that sets you apart from everybody else, man. And if we all look alike, we're all alike. If we all sound alike, we're all alike. There's nothing unique about any of us.
Yeah, and I think that's where it goes back to where if you are a booker of a show, you have to know who you have. And that doesn't just mean that, you know, who's showing up that day.
Right.
You really have to know, and that takes time, and it may take more time than what you want to give. And, you know, I mean, and you may not have time for projects, or you may, or whatever the case may be, but you have to give a certain amount if you expect to get anything back. And that starts at the top. If you're the booker and promoter, you know, these guys can wrestle anywhere, you know, and they, most of the time, and, you know, I don't care what I pay them. I never feel like it's enough ever.
Right.
I want one day for me to get to a point to where I'm like, daggum, we're paying what?
Oh no, y'all gonna have to open them envelopes. We're gonna have to take a little bit out of there, man.
Be like, hold up now. But I mean, I want to get to that point. But you know, these guys will wrestle anywhere and can. Why would they want to be here? You know, like that's part of it too. You know, well, I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to do what I tell them. I'm going to make sure that they look great in that spot, and we're going to get to know who they are so that we can put them in the best spots possible, so that we can show, because a lot of times, and I've seen this in with people that have been on the show for a while, but then have left, and then they come back, that when they leave, it's like, I didn't quite get all that mojo I thought. I'm not quite as hot as I was, just hot in that system,
right?
You know, and it's like, well, if you'd hung out, you'd have had the tools to be able to be hot anywhere. But we were just starting. But I'm trying to take care of you. Like I'm trying to not only put you in a good spot, but also teach what I can. And if I don't know it, I've got somebody on this roster that does, and I'm going to put you with the person that knows it. Like it's really a big family. I love the way it's come together, and honestly, I don't believe there's anything else out there like it.
And here's the thing about wrestlers. We all want to feel appreciated. We
Yep.
all want to feel like we're doing something that's important to the show, and we all want to feel like we're doing something cool.
Yep.
And here's the thing. We all want to be paid, but truthfully, pro wrestlers, especially when they're starting out, just getting into business, they'll bypass the money to feel appreciated and feel like they're a part of something cool and
Yep.
important
And
to the show.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, as a booker and promoter, I've always made sure that I don't want to be the guy that takes advantage of that,
Right.
because I see it taken advantage of. It's like guys that join the ring crew. I never promise anything. Here's what we can do.
Right.
This is what we can do for you if you're doing this. We can do these things. This is as high as it gets for us. As low as it gets, you buy tickets again.
Right.
But nothing's promised, except for the fact that we're going to take care of you if you do the things that we ask. At all times, we're going to try to take care of you at every step of the way. And that's worked out for a ton of people. And it's like, when I got in, I saw a lot of those guys that you talk about. It's like, that roster that you talk about was those guys at one time.
Right.
That whole list that you go up and down, they were the guys that just wanted a chance, just wanted an opportunity, just wanted to be heard a little bit. Like and listening to these guys doesn't mean that everything that they want to do, you do it.
Yeah, right.
That's not what that means, but it means hearing these guys, hearing their ideas. If it doesn't work for that situation, doesn't mean it won't work down the road. Doesn't mean it ain't something that we can't get to. It might not ever get to it, but it's worth exploring that option, because nothing's perfect. Nothing I've come up with is the best thing that's ever been come up with, because chances are I'm just pulling something from 45 years ago that nobody remembers with different cast members and updating it for today.
Right. I think, look, wrestling is built on plagiarism nowadays, because really it's hard to come up with something that hadn't already been done. And most of the time, if you do come up with something that you think ain't never been done, now with YouTube, somewhere down the line, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, you'll see that same shit you thought nobody ever thought of had already been done. And that's just the wrestling business. That's why the characters and the uniqueness of each persona is so important, because we're all really out here doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
What makes it different is how we do it. How
Correct.
I do it compared to how Tommy Jack does it.
Yep.
How the Merc does it, or Dorian Vane does it. It's the uniqueness of the persona that makes it stand out to the people.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is it's like, these are, most of the things are the stuff, from 30, 40, 50 years ago, people do them again, but it's different. It's a different time, different cast, done in a slightly different way,
right.
Then it's brand new again, and, I feel like that's, as long as you're doing it in a way and you know why you do it in those ways, and you've done it, then you're really, it's storytelling at its basis. So you're doing what they did around a fire back in olden before 4 times. You're taking that story, you're carrying it on and adjusting it slightly with your own perspective, and then moving it on down the line.
Right. Wrestling in a nutshell right there, dude.
Yeah.
That's wrestling in a nutshell. Tommy, we're going to start wrapping it up. Before we do, March 2nd, Sunday, March 2nd, y'all are back at Minglewood Hall. Talk to me about this big show y'all got coming up, man.
Yeah, huge main event, March 2nd, Minglewood Hall. You can get all of the info and your tickets at 901wrestling.com. We recently partnered up with 901 Ticks, the ticket site, which is Memphis based, because I'm real big. Our merch comes from Signature X in Memphis. Our printing comes from Bluff City Sports right there in Midtown in Memphis. Our ticketing is now right here in Memphis. So, real big on that. But all the info for your tickets are at 901wrestling.com. The big main event happening, 901 Wrestling title defended. Kevin Bless will defend that title against Shane Schaffner. Now, here's the kicker, Buster. I don't know how much you've kept up with it, but just a brief little. Shane Schaffner was 901 Wrestling champion at the end of the Black Lodge era. The last night we were in Black Lodge, he was the 901 Wrestling champion. He beat Bobby Ford, made him tap out.
I didn't know that.
He did. And then seconds later, Kevin Bless used his wild card that he won in the annual Wild Card Rumble held for the honor of Devin Taylor. That gives you a chance to cash that wild card in for any title shot at any time. He chose to do it then and became the 901 Wrestling champion. Now, be what it may, the fans have embraced him because they, I guess, knew that he was willing to do whatever it took to get to the top. He says now he's doing it for the city and has done nothing but that. He's proven it every step of the way. Shane ain't having any of that. Shane's been upset since day one. He held the title for that long. Well, it all comes to a head right here, March 2nd, Minglewood Hall, when Shane goes up against Kevin Bless for that title. And in Shane's corner, the King of Memphis, Hunter Havoc.
Man. And I'm like you, that's got a sting, man, winning the belt and then boom, having it taken from you. You didn't even get to go home and take a picture with it or nothing, man. Just immediately have it tucked, dude.
And it's rough. I mean, agreed, it's rough, but I mean, it is a thing that's within the rules. Also, right. I was with Shane a lot of years managing him, and we did a lot of dastardly stuff. And this wouldn't even touch the iceberg. So Shane technically should just get over it and just make his, like he's done, make his way back to it. But he's like a pit bull when that bell rings. So Kevin Bless is in for a test. He successfully defended that title now 3 different occasions and looking to do it a 4th. I know everybody in Minglewood's going to be behind him. And we're also, we're going to get an update on Prince Adonis. He got banged up in the 901 Wrestling Classic. We're going to get an update, see what's next for Prince Adonis. And I'm sure whether I like it or not, I'm sure we're going to get something out of this new tag team from Roscoe Monroe and Norman Meklikoff of the Gentlemen's Club. So, and then there's a bunch of stuff still to be announced. But if you have not had a chance to go ahead, go to 901wrestling.com, get yourself to Minglewood Hall, March 2nd. It does not matter if you're a wrestling fan. If you just want to be transported away from the outside world for a couple of hours, then 901wrestling.com is where you need to go get yourself some tickets and come on and get hooked.
There you go, right there. 901 Minglewood Hall, Sunday, March 2nd, the place to be. Bell times. What time's bell time, Tommy?
Doors open at 4, bell time 5 o'clock sharp.
5 o'clock bell time. Roscoe, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for interacting with us. Tommy, dude, I have enjoyed this. It has been absolutely my pleasure talking wrestling with you.
Mine too, man. I appreciate you having me.
Dude, sometime down the line, I got to get you back on, man. I feel like we could talk wrestling for hours and hours. I feel like we click a lot. The way we think about wrestling. I watch guys all the time, and I don't even have a show, or I'm not a booker or nothing. But man, I see guys do stuff all the time that just makes my gears start spinning. About, man, you could do this with this guy, or you could. And sometimes it's just a minute little. They could just do some minute thing, and like you said, accentuate the positive, hide the negative. I think, man, if we took that little segment and built from there. Yep. Man, this dude here could be money, It's always the small things that add up to the big one. That's right. Tommy, man, I appreciate you so much for coming on. Like I said, it is my pleasure. I wish you, 901, and all of your guys all the luck in the world in the future, dude. I hope y'all outgrow Minglewood Hall, my man.
That's the plan, brother.
I hope y'all do it, man. I'm looking forward to the future of 901.
We got to get you to a show, pal.
Dude, definitely I got to come, man. I'm definitely going to make a point to make a Minglewood show here soon coming up, dude.
All right, I'm going to hold you to it.
All right, yes, sir. Tommy, take it easy, man. You have a great night.
Thank you, brother.
All right, y'all, you seen it right there. Mr. 901 himself, Tommy Jacks. Go check out 901 Wrestling. Go live to Minglewood Hall Sunday, March 2nd, or go to YouTube and check it out before you go. I promise you, you go watch it, it's going to make you want to go live. All right, guys, I want to thank everybody who tuned in, everybody who interacted. You know the routine. Like this video, share this video. Go to Buster H.R. Johnson on YouTube and subscribe. And I want to promote my upcoming podcast one more time before we get out. This is the end of January. February's kicking off. I got a bunch of great podcasts. Check these out.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with, now they looking nervously. And I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe, I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
All right, guys, you've seen it right there. Bunch of good podcasts coming up. Kicks off this Wednesday night. APW owner, promoter, founder Ricky Kennedy will be here with me. That's one you do not want to miss. And then Sunday night, I got the Independent Heroes. Steel Cross, Alex, Ethan. I got Mike Reels and Jet Hero. You do not want to miss that one, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys Wednesday.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and and make a statement.